It was a quiet night in the suburban neighborhood of Willow Creek. The kind of night where the streets are empty. The only sound is the rustling of leaves in the wind and the occasional bark of a distant dog. Most houses were dark, and everyone seemed to be asleep. But in one small house at the corner of Maple Street, the night was far from peaceful. Inside, an 8-year-old girl named Emily clutched her favorite stuffed rabbit tightly. She tiptoed down the hallway, her small feet making almost no sound on the carpet. Her heart raced as she approached the door that led to the living room. Something wasn't right. The doorknob wobbled slightly when she tried to turn it, and a strange creaking sound came from the hinges. "Mommy, I think someone's outside," she whispered, her voice trembling. Her mother, Sarah, stirred from her sleep and rubbed her eyes. The worry instantly showed on her face. Nights like this had always made her uneasy, but tonight, with Emily standing before her, clutching her bunny and looking terrified, her protective instincts kicked in. "Sweetheart, it's okay. It's probably just the wind or maybe a branch brushing against the window," Sarah said softly, trying to calm both herself and her daughter. But even as she spoke, a chill ran down her spine. Something about the night felt off. Emily shook her head. "No, Mommy, it's different. I can hear someone moving right outside our door." Sarah took a deep breath. She was rational, calm, and usually handled emergencies with clear thinking. But tonight, there was a fear in Emily's eyes that she couldn't ignore. "We'll call someone who can help," Sarah said, reaching for her phone. Emily's eyes widened with a mixture of hope and fear. Can we call Mr. Cardo? The neighbor, the one who helps people." Sarah nodded. Mr. Cardo was more than just a neighbor. By day, he was a CEO of a small tech company, but everyone in the neighborhood knew him as the man who always helped in emergencies. From fixing electrical issues to rescuing trapped pets, he had earned a reputation for being reliable, calm, and brave. Emily dialed the number with shaking fingers, pressing the call button. The phone rang twice, and then a familiar calm voice answered. "Hello, Emily? Is everything okay?" "Mr. Cardo, Mommy's scared. I think someone's outside our door," Emily whispered urgently. There was a pause. Then Cardo said, "Stay calm, Emily. I'll be there as fast as I can. Lock yourself in the living room with your mom, and don't open the door for anyone else." Emily and Sarah exchanged a quick, relieved glance. Help was coming, but the minutes stretched painfully long as they waited. Outside, the shadows of the night seemed to grow longer, the wind whispering through the trees, making every sound louder than it was. The house was silent except for Emily's shallow breaths and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Sarah held her daughter tightly, whispering soothing words, but the fear in her own chest made it hard to feel calm. Every shadow cast by the streetlight outside seemed to stretch and twist, playing tricks on their minds. Minutes felt like hours. Emily pressed her face against her mother's shoulder. "Mommy, what if he doesn't come in time?" "Sure, he will, sweetie. Mr. Cardo always helps," Sarah whispered, though she felt her own doubts creep in. She could almost hear her heartbeat in the silent room, pounding like a drum. Suddenly, a faint sound at the front door made them freeze. A knock, soft but deliberate, echoed through the hallway. Emily gasped and clutched her bunny tighter. "Mommy, that's him. That's him, right?" Sarah swallowed hard. I think so. Stay behind me." They crept closer to the door, hearts racing. Then the doorbell rang once, twice. Sarah exhaled shakily. The voice they had been hoping for came through the door. "Sarah? Emily? It's Cardo. Open the door, I'm outside." Emily's small hands trembled as she unlocked the door. As it swung open, Mr. Cardo stepped inside. Even in the dim light, his presence was commanding yet calm. His eyes scanned the house, noting every detail, every potential hazard. "Don't worry," he said firmly but kindly. "I'm here now. Everything's going to be okay." Emily's fear began to melt just a little. There was something reassuring about Mr. Cardo, an energy that told her that no matter what, someone capable was now in control. He moved to the living room door, inspecting the old, creaky hinges. "This door seems old. It could be the wind or just the frame," but let's make sure everything is secure. He carried a small toolkit from his bag, the kind of professional equipment someone who helped in emergencies would have. Sarah watched, silently impressed. This was not just a neighborly favor. This was someone who knew exactly what to do when fear turned into danger. Emily's eyes were wide with awe as Cardo worked efficiently, tightening screws, checking locks, and ensuring the area around the door was safe. Minutes passed. The wind howled outside, but inside there was a growing sense of calm. Emily realized that the shadows weren't so scary anymore. With every careful movement Cardo made, the room felt safer. "Mommy, he's like a hero," Emily whispered, almost to herself. Sarah smiled, feeling the tension drain from her body. "Yes, sweetie, he is." Cardo looked at them both, his expression softening. Fear is natural. What matters is that we face it with courage and help from others when we need it. You've done well staying calm while waiting for me. For Emily, those words were magic. She felt a strange mix of relief, admiration, and comfort. Somehow, in that frightening moment, she realized she wasn't alone. Someone capable and brave had arrived, and the darkness didn't feel so big anymore. Cardo moved to the front window, peering out into the darkness. The night was thick with shadows, and the faint streetlights cast long, distorted shapes across the lawn. Every small movement of the trees and the wind seemed amplified, making it impossible to distinguish between harmless swaying and something more sinister. Emily pressed her face against the glass, whispering, "Is it safe now?" Cardo turned and smiled reassuringly. "We'll make sure it's completely safe before the night ends. That's my promise." He stepped outside carefully, the crunch of leaves under his shoes breaking the eerie silence. Sarah instinctively followed, keeping a safe distance, while Emily watched from the window, feeling a mix of worry and admiration. As Cardo circled the perimeter of the house, he noticed subtle signs: an uneven patch of dirt, a slightly bent garden fence, and faint footprints leading toward the side gate. His trained eyes immediately assessed every possibility. This wasn't just a random night. Something had triggered the disturbance outside their home. Back inside, Sarah tried to comfort Emily. "See, Cardo's outside, checking everything. We're safe as long as we stay inside." Emily nodded, but couldn't hide her trembling hands. Her imagination ran wild. What if someone had tried to sneak in? What if the shadows weren't just shadows? Meanwhile, outside, Cardo's flashlight beam cut through the darkness. He crouched near the side gate, examining the ground closely. "Interesting," he muttered, noting the footprints. They were small, possibly made by a stray animal or a curious neighbor's child, but better to be safe than sorry. Cardo returned to the front door, motioning for Sarah and Emily to step back. "The immediate threat seems minor, but let's secure all entry points just to be sure." Inside, Emily watched every move, silently absorbing the calm authority that Cardo radiated. He wasn't just a helper, he was a protector, and tonight, he was more than just a neighbor. He was a guardian in the shadows. Sarah handed Cardo a flashlight. "Do you need anything else?" Cardo shook his head. "We've got this. I'll stay until I'm certain everything is secure." Fear can linger even after the danger has passed, so it's important we address it fully. The wind picked up outside, rustling the leaves with a louder, more menacing sound. Emily flinched but stayed put, watching Cardo move with purpose, checking windows, doors, and even the garage. Every careful motion reassured her, piece by piece. Inside, Sarah whispered softly, "Thank you, really. I don't know what we would have done without you." Cardo nodded. "No thanks needed. Helping each other is what makes a community strong. And courage isn't the absence of fear. It's what you do even when you're scared." Emily hugged her mother, feeling a mix of relief and pride. She had faced the night with fear, but with Cardo's presence, she understood something powerful. Bravery isn't about never being afraid. It's about having someone reliable by your side when the shadows seem too big. The wind outside howled more fiercely, rattling the old window panes and making the house groan as if it were alive. Emily huddled closer to her mother on the couch, clutching her stuffed rabbit tightly. The shadows that stretched across the living room floor seemed larger now, dancing with every flicker of the streetlights. Cardo crouched by the window, flashlight in hand, scanning the perimeter once more. Every detail mattered. The smallest rustle in the bushes, the faintest movement across the lawn. He knew that fear often came not from what is real, but from what the mind imagines in darkness. "Emily, Sarah, stay calm and keep away from the windows," Cardo instructed firmly, though his tone carried warmth. He wanted them to feel safe, even as he investigated the unknown. Emily whispered, almost to herself, "I thought the shadows were monsters." Her wide eyes reflected both fear and curiosity. "Shadows can be scary," Cardo replied gently, "but they're only shapes. They can't hurt you. What matters is how you face them, with calm and courage." Outside, a branch snapped under the weight of an unseen object. Emily flinched, pressing herself into her mother's side. Cardo didn't flinch. He moved with precision, checking the source of the sound. It was a small raccoon rummaging through the trash. A minor disturbance, nothing dangerous, but in the dark, every sound seemed magnified. Returning inside, Cardo noticed Emily's trembling hands. He knelt to her level. "See, Emily, everything is fine. The sound was just a little animal. You've been very brave staying here with your mom." Emily's lips curved into a small, relieved smile. "I was scared, but you make me feel safe," she admitted. Sarah placed a hand on Cardo's shoulder. "You've turned this night around. We were both terrified. I can't thank you enough." Cardo smiled softly, his gaze scanning the room once more. "It's what neighbors do, and sometimes bravery comes in two ways: facing your fears and helping others face theirs. Tonight, you both did that. I just guided the way." The night grew quieter. The wind had lessened, the shadows seemed to settle, and the house felt less ominous. Emily clutched her bunny, but now with a sense of comfort. She realized that even in the darkest moments, someone reliable could bring light and hope. Cardo checked the locks one last time, making sure everything was secure. "We're safe now," he announced. His presence brought a profound sense of relief to both Emily and Sarah. As he prepared to leave, Emily ran to the door. "Will you come back if we're scared again?" she asked timidly. Cardo knelt down, smiling warmly. "Of course, Emily. Courage doesn't mean never being scared. It means knowing help is there when you need it. Remember that." For Emily and Sarah, the night had transformed. What began as fear had become an experience of trust, bravery, and human kindness. They realized that even in moments of darkness, the presence of someone caring could make all the difference. The house had finally settled into a quiet rhythm. Outside, the wind whispered softly through the trees, and the distant hum of streetlights created a gentle, familiar background noise. Emily sat on the couch, hugging her stuffed rabbit, her eyes still wide with a mix of awe and relief. Sarah was beside her, rubbing her daughter's back, both still processing the intensity of the night. Fear had been palpable just minutes ago, but now, under Cardo's calm guidance, the tension began to dissolve. Cardo leaned against the doorway, observing the two. "Sometimes," he began, "the scariest moments aren't about what's outside, but what's inside. Our own fear, our imagination, the stories we tell ourselves. But facing that fear, that's real courage." Emily looked up at him, her eyes shining. "Even when I was scared?" she asked. "Yes, Emily," Cardo replied gently. "Even when you were scared. Bravery doesn't mean you aren't afraid. It means you act wisely and seek help when you need it." Sarah nodded, feeling grateful not just for the physical help Cardo had provided, but for the emotional reassurance he offered. "It's amazing how calm you are. You make it seem like nothing can go wrong." Cardo shook his head slightly. "It's not that nothing can go wrong. Things can do go wrong. But preparation, awareness, and remaining calm make the difference between panic and safety. That's what tonight was about." Emily hugged her rabbit tighter, thinking about the night. The strange sounds, the shadows, the fear that had gripped her so tightly. It all seemed less threatening now. "I think I understand," she said softly. "Being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about facing it, right? Exactly, Cardo smiled. And it's okay to need help. Bravery isn't about doing everything alone. It's about knowing when to reach out and trusting those who can guide you. Outside, the moonlight reflected off the windows, casting long, peaceful beams into the living room. Emily and Sarah felt a sense of calm they hadn't experienced earlier. The night, which had once seemed threatening, now held a quiet serenity. Cardo glanced at his watch. I'll stay for a little longer, just to make sure nothing else seems out of place. But for now, the immediate danger is gone. You both did well. Emily smiled, a mix of pride and relief shining on her face. Thank you, Cardo, for staying and helping us. You really are a hero. Cardo chuckled softly. I'm just someone who cares. Heroes are everywhere. You saw that tonight. You both were brave enough to stay calm and wait for help. That's heroic in itself. The room settled into a warm, comfortable quiet. Emily began to feel sleepy, her fears replaced by a new understanding of courage and trust. She realized that even in the darkest hours, with the right guidance and support, fear could be transformed into strength. The first hints of dawn began to lighten the sky, casting a soft glow through the curtains. The night's tension slowly ebbed away, replaced by a sense of relief and quiet triumph. Emily, still clutching her stuffed rabbit, sat on the couch with a newfound confidence in her eyes. Sarah let out a deep breath, feeling the weight of the night lift from her shoulders. I can't believe how scared I was, she admitted, looking at her daughter. But somehow, it feels like we've learned something important. Cardo, standing by the doorway, gave a small nod. Fear teaches us if we let it. It reminds us of what matters, what we value, and how strong we can be when we face it together. Emily smiled, hugging her mother. I feel braver now, she said softly. And I know we're safe because you were here, Cardo. Cardo crouched to her level once more. Bravery isn't about never feeling scared, Emily. It's about acting wisely, reaching out when needed, and trusting others who care. Tonight, you and your mom both showed bravery just by staying calm and trusting me to help. Outside, the street was peaceful again. The trees swayed gently in the morning breeze. The shadows that had once seemed so menacing now playful shapes in the dawn light. The neighborhood had returned to its usual quiet rhythm, but Emily and Sarah knew something had changed inside them. They had faced fear and come through stronger. Cardo inspected the house one last time, checking every lock, window, and door. Everything's secure, he announced. You can both rest now, knowing the house is safe. Emily's eyes sparkled with admiration. Will you stay friends with us, Cardo? So that if something happens again, Cardo smiled warmly. Of course, friends are always here for each other. Remember, courage grows when you face fear, but it's strengthened when you know someone reliable is by your side. Sarah placed a hand on Emily's shoulder, squeezing gently. Tonight, we learned the true meaning of courage and trust. And we're lucky to have you, Cardo. As Cardo prepared to leave, Emily waved, feeling a mix of pride, gratitude, and comfort. She realized that the terrifying night had transformed into a story of hope, bravery, and human kindness. She had seen what courage truly looked like, and how fear could be overcome with calm, smart actions, and the support of someone capable and caring. With a final nod, Cardo walked to his car, leaving Emily and Sarah to reflect on the night. The house, once filled with tension and fear, was now full of warmth and peace. The dawn marked not just a new day, but a new understanding that bravery, trust, and compassion could illuminate even the darkest night. Emily climbed back in her bed, cuddling her stuffed rabbit. For the first time that night, she slept soundly, her heart lighter and her spirit stronger. Sarah watched her daughter, feeling both pride and relief. They had survived the night, learned valuable lessons, and gained a hero, someone who showed them that even in fear, there could be light. And as the sun rose over Willow Creek, the neighborhood returned to its quiet calm. But inside one small house, two hearts had grown braver, stronger, and more connected than ever, thanks to the presence of one extraordinary neighbor, one dependable hero, and one night that would be remembered for a lifetime. The sun had just begun to rise over Willow Creek, casting soft golden rays across the quiet neighborhood. Birds chirped faintly, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it the fresh scent of dew. To anyone else, it was an ordinary morning. But for Emily and her mother, Sarah, the memories of the previous night lingered, vivid and palpable. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, hugging her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes, usually full of innocent energy, were still shadowed by the fear she had felt just hours ago. "Mom, do you think everything is really safe now?" she asked softly. Sarah, sipping her morning coffee, looked at her daughter with a calm, yet concerned expression. "I hope so, sweetheart. But last night taught us something important. Being safe isn't just about the doors and locks. It's about awareness, preparation, and having someone reliable when things get scary." Emily nodded slowly, remembering Mr. Cardo's reassuring presence. "He really is like a superhero," she whispered. "He knows what to do and makes everything feel okay." Sarah smiled, a mixture of relief and pride in her eyes. "Yes, he's amazing. But courage doesn't only come from someone else. It comes from you too. You stayed calm, even when you were scared. That's bravery." Outside, the street seemed peaceful, almost ordinary. Yet Cardo's mind was far from relaxed. During his morning jog, he retraced the steps he had taken the night before, noting small details that didn't fit. A slightly disturbed garden bed, a bent fence post, and subtle footprints near the side gate. All minor, yet together they suggested something more than a simple scare. He paused, scanning the street with sharp eyes, considering the possibility of an unseen observer. Something wasn't right. Even after resolving the immediate fear, Cardo knew vigilance was key. For a trained mind, the night's events were a puzzle, pieces that needed to be carefully analyzed before putting the picture together. Meanwhile, Emily prepared for school, her mind still occupied with the events of the night. She kept glancing at the front door, half expecting to see shadows lurking again. Her mother noticed and knelt beside her. "Emily, it's okay. You're safe. You're learning something important. You're noticing the world, but you're not letting fear control you." Emily's lips curled into a small smile. "I feel braver than last night," she admitted. "I think I understand now. Courage is noticing the scary stuff and still moving forward." At that moment, Cardo appeared at the driveway, giving a quick wave to Emily and Sarah. He carried his toolkit, as if ready for any minor adjustments the morning might require. His presence again reminded them that safety is not just about being protected. It's about having a plan, a mentor, and guidance when uncertainty arises. "Good morning," he said, his calm voice cutting through the lingering tension. "I wanted to check the house again, just to ensure there's nothing overlooked." Safety isn't a one-time action, it's continuous. Sarah nodded, silently grateful. "Thank you, Cardo. We really appreciate you looking out for us." Emily bounced slightly on her feet. "Can I help? I want to learn how to be brave like you," she said earnestly. Cardo knelt down to her level, smiling warmly. "You already are, Emily. Bravery isn't about never being scared. It's about noticing fear and still making wise choices. Tonight, you prove that. Today, we'll make sure the house is ready for anything, and you'll learn how small steps create big safety." And so, the morning began not just as a new day, but as a lesson in courage, awareness, and preparation. While the neighborhood appeared calm, Cardo's mind remained alert. Something had unsettled the night before, and though it had passed, the clues hinted that the story was far from over. Emily watched him work, inspired and curious. For her, it was no longer just about fear. It was about understanding, learning, and growing stronger with each challenge. After ensuring the interior of the house was fully secure, Cardo stepped outside to inspect the yard and surrounding area. The morning sun had brightened the streets, but even daylight couldn't erase the remnants of tension from the previous night. Shadows still lingered in corners, and small details demanded attention. Cardo's trained eyes scanned the lawn carefully. A bent garden fence post caught his attention, a subtle shift that could easily be dismissed as wear and tear, but he knew better. Something, or someone, had moved here recently. He crouched to examine the ground. Faint footprints pressed into the soft soil, too small for an adult, but too deliberate to be random. Inside, Emily watched through the window, curiosity mixing with excitement. "Mommy, what is he looking at?" she asked, gripping her rabbit. Sarah leaned close. "I think he's checking the yard, sweetheart. Cardo always notices things we might miss." Emily nodded slowly. "I want to be able to see things like that too," she whispered. Cardo moved along the side of the house, inspecting the windows and gates. He noticed small scuffs near the side gate hinge and a few scratch marks along the wooden fence. His mind ran through possibilities: a curious animal, a neighborhood kid, or someone testing the house. The details didn't add up for a simple explanation. He paused and took out his phone, snapping photos of the subtle clues. Every detail mattered. Cardo knew that minor observations often revealed major truths. The quiet of the neighborhood contrasted sharply with the tension he felt. Sometimes danger hides behind the calmest scenes. Back inside, Emily and Sarah tried to process the situation. "Do you think it's dangerous?" Emily asked, her voice small but steady. Sarah shook her head. "I don't know, honey, but Cardo is careful. That's why we trust him. We just need to stay calm and watch how he handles it." Cardo returned to the front porch, reviewing his notes. "The evidence is subtle," he explained, "but consistent. Someone, or something, was here last night, and it wasn't entirely random. We need to be prepared for anything." Emily's eyes widened. "Prepared? Like for monsters?" Cardo chuckled softly. "Not monsters, Emily. But sometimes, even small threats can create big problems if ignored. Being prepared means observing, analyzing, and acting wisely." Sarah smiled faintly, feeling reassured. "He's right. Last night, we learned how important preparation is. Even small clues can tell a big story." Cardo nodded. "Exactly. And these clues tell me the story isn't over. I'll continue to monitor the area and make sure you both stay safe while we figure this out." Emily hugged her rabbit tighter, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. The mystery of the night hadn't fully passed. But with Cardo there, she felt confident that every detail would be uncovered and every risk minimized. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, but for Emily and Sarah, the day had started with an awareness that safety isn't just about locks. It's about vigilance, observation, and understanding the world around them. Cardo stepped back in his car, phone in hand, ready to reach out to other neighbors in Willow Creek. The subtle clues he had discovered earlier suggested that the events of the previous night might not have been isolated. He needed to ensure the entire block was alert and prepared. He dialed the first neighbor's number. "Good morning, this is Cardo. I'm calling regarding last night's disturbance near Maple Street. I noticed some unusual activity, and I want to make sure everyone is aware." The voice on the other end was groggy but attentive. "Unusual activity? You mean that noise last night?" "Yes," Cardo replied calmly but firmly. "It might have been minor, but I want to prevent any surprises. Check your doors, locks, and any unusual signs around your property. Safety is always better handled proactively." Within the hour, he had contacted several households. Parents checked their children, neighbors inspected windows and gates, and the community buzzed with a quiet alertness. Cardo's methodical approach reassured them. He wasn't inciting panic, but encouraging vigilance. Back at Emily's house, Sarah watched him coordinate with the neighborhood. "He's amazing," she whispered. "Not only is he helping us, but he's looking out for everyone." Emily nodded, gripping her rabbit. "He's like a real-life superhero," she said softly. Cardo returned to the house, notebook in hand. "The area is more aware now, and everyone is taking precautions," he explained. "That doesn't guarantee there won't be surprises, but it greatly reduces risk. Awareness is a powerful tool." Sarah felt reassured but also inspired. "Emily, this shows us that courage and preparation aren't just personal. They can protect a whole community." Emily's eyes brightened. "I want to help too, Mom. I want to notice things like Cardo does." Cardo smiled at her determination. "And you will, Emily. Awareness comes with practice, observation, and a calm mind. The more you notice, the better prepared you'll be in any situation." As the day progressed, the neighborhood's sense of safety gradually returned, yet Emily and Sarah understood that vigilance never truly ended. Cardo's leadership had instilled a sense of calm readiness, turning fear into proactive action. By evening, Emily's confidence had grown. She knew she had the courage to face unexpected challenges, and she understood the importance of observation and preparation. For Sarah, the night's lessons had reinforced a deeper understanding. Community matters, awareness matters, and having someone dependable can transform fear into empowerment. Cardo watched from the driveway as families secured their homes, a quiet satisfaction in his heart. His work wasn't done yet, but progress was visible. In Willow Creek, fear had been met with courage, and uncertainty had been met with preparedness. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the quiet streets of Willow Creek. Emily and Sarah sat in the living room, the soft hum of the evening providing a calm backdrop. But the tension of the previous night still lingered, like a faint echo that refused to fade. Emily clutched her rabbit, glancing toward the front door. "Mom, what if something else happens? What if the next noise isn't just an animal?" Sarah sighed softly, brushing her daughter's hair from her face. "Honey, that's why we have Cardo. But also, we've learned something important. We can't control everything, but we can be prepared, stay calm, and rely on trusted people when needed." Emily nodded, though a hint of worry remained in her eyes. She was beginning to understand that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was managing it, making wise decisions, and trusting in those who could help. Cardo had been checking subtle signs around the property all day, observing the garden, the driveway, and even the shadows cast by the streetlights. He had noticed a few minor disturbances that could easily go unnoticed, and his trained instincts told him to remain vigilant. "Emily," he said gently, kneeling to meet her eyes, "do you remember what I said about bravery?" "Yes," she whispered. "It's noticing fear and still doing the right thing." "Exactly," he smiled. "And part of that is observing, analyzing, and preparing. You've done that already just by being aware and staying calm last night. Now we'll take it a step further." Sarah watched her daughter absorb the lesson, a mix of pride and relief washing over her. Emily's face was still serious, but the fear had softened into determination. As evening deepened, a faint rustling from the side yard made Emily jump. Her heart raced again, but she remembered Cardo's words and took a deep breath. "It's okay," Cardo said calmly. "Notice it, observe it, but don't panic. Let's see what it is." He stepped outside, flashlight in hand. Emily and Sarah watched from the window as he moved methodically, examining the rustling bush. Moments later, he returned, holding a small, harmless raccoon that had been investigating the garden. Emily let out a relieved laugh, hugging her rabbit. "It's just a little animal." Cardo nodded, smiling. "Exactly. Most fears aren't as dangerous as they feel. But staying alert and calm ensures we handle the real challenges wisely." Sarah realized how much her daughter had grown in just one day. Emily had faced fear, learned the value of observation, and was beginning to understand courage on a deeper level. The evening settled into a quiet rhythm, but Emily's mind buzzed with thoughts. She realized that every shadow, every strange sound, was an opportunity to practice courage, awareness, and trust. And with Cardo's guidance, she felt ready for whatever might come next. Cardo turned to Sarah. "You're raising a brave girl. Tonight, and the lessons today, will help her handle challenges with wisdom and calm." Sarah smiled, feeling grateful for his presence. "And we're lucky to have you, Cardo." Emily hugged her mother again. The night's lessons had transformed her fear into a sense of purpose, understanding, and courage, a lesson she would carry with her long after the shadows had faded. The house was finally quiet. Outside, the gentle hum of Willow Creek at night created a calm, almost serene atmosphere. Emily sat on the couch, her rabbit in her lap, her eyes reflecting a mix of relief, pride, and understanding. The night had tested them all, but the lessons lingered stronger than fear. Sarah joined her daughter, placing a comforting arm around her shoulders. "You did wonderfully tonight, Emily. You stayed alert, calm, and learned to notice what really matters." Emily nodded slowly. I saw everything, Mom. I noticed the shadows, the noises, and I stayed calm. I think I'm braver now. Cardo stood nearby, surveying the house one last time. Tonight was a reminder for all of us. Courage isn't about fighting alone or being fearless. It's about awareness, calm thinking, and responsible action. You've both demonstrated that. Emily smiled, a newfound confidence glowing in her eyes. I think I understand now. Courage is noticing fear and still doing the right thing. It's being smart and brave at the same time. Sarah glanced at Cardo. You didn't just protect us physically. You taught us how to think, how to observe, and how to act wisely. That's more important than anything else. Cardo nodded, a subtle smile on his face. Every moment of observation, every calm choice you make, it builds courage. And that courage, combined with trust and community, creates true safety. That's what tonight has shown. Outside, the night air was calm, the stars twinkling softly above. Emily realized that what once seemed terrifying, the shadows, the noises, the unknown, was now a lesson in growth. She had learned to trust herself, her mother, and the guidance of someone experienced. She felt empowered, ready to face challenges, and aware that vigilance and courage were lifelong skills. Sarah hugged Emily tightly. We've grown tonight, Emily. And it's not just about being safe. It's about understanding ourselves, our choices, and the power of preparation and trust. Cardo glanced at the neighborhood, satisfied. Willow Creek is quiet for now, but the lessons from tonight will stay with all of us. Observation, calm thinking, courage, and community, they're stronger than any fear. Emily looked up at him, eyes shining. I want to keep learning. I want to notice, act wisely, and be brave every day. Cardo smiled warmly. And you will, Emily. Courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you practice. Tonight, you practiced it well. Sarah watched her daughter, feeling a deep sense of pride. Emily had faced fear, understood vigilance, and embraced courage. It wasn't just a lesson for one night. It was a lesson for life. The night, once filled with tension, had transformed into a story of growth, awareness, and empowerment. Emily and Sarah realized that with preparation, observation, trust, and guidance, fear could be transformed into strength. And as the first hints of dawn appeared on the horizon, the family understood the ultimate truth. Courage, vigilance, and trust in the right people and community can overcome even the darkest nights.